You're listening to Polymatic.media, episode number 32, for the 21st of January, 2018. Welcome to the Polymaticast. Hey, John, how's it going?
Oh no, we're dying.
We're dying. The snow is happening. Ads are dying. People are taking money out of my hand. Where's the baby? I need to steal its candy.
The U.S. government is shut down. Ooh.
Oh, yeah, that stuff. I mean, you know, when you have unnecessary politicians doing unnecessary, selfish things, they're the people who are stealing candy from babies or the government or whatever. So, but nonetheless, this seems like, oh my God, the government's shutting down. I'm not a government employee, so I'm not going to be screwed up too much by it. But they've done this sort of, Lego my ego behavior for a couple decades now. I'm kind of conditioned to expecting it. So that's it. That's all the commentary I can make about politics in the U.S. How unuseful they are.
How's the snowpocalypse?
Not so much anymore. I put out like a Facebook and a Twitter thing where I'm just like, hey, winter, you're winter, not spring, right? It seems to have like this identity crisis lately, So it's like, Monday. Oh, hey, look, there's all kinds of snow. I guess we have to work from home. Tuesday. Oh, there's birds flying around. It's just like, what the hell is going on? So that seems to be what it's doing right now. It's like having its mental breakdown to eventually phasing into spring, but we're nowhere near it being, deemed as spring yet, and the temperatures are so
I think we're 2 months off at least.
Yeah, something's all out of whack. And even when you live on a different side of the world. I can tell you somewhere in the early 90s I remember snow being in this a season called winter, and it being cold pretty consistently, and then eventually it started to stop. It wasn't. Sometimes there was snow. We get ourselves in a marsh, and then there's snow, and then it's perfectly fine again. And so we're having one of those little mental breakdowns with the seasons right now. That's kind of what's happening. It's not super brittle when it's been jumping from like 9 degrees, 2 degrees to 16 degrees to 20 degrees back down to 8 degrees. Like we had that
all in Fahrenheit. We
had that like end of December into early January, and now we're in this sort of 16 one day, 32 today, 20 tomorrow, 32 today, so we're in that sort of, it's warming up, but it's just doing it very neurotically. So
yeah, well, we had a storm this week, so that was fun. It had been brewing for almost the entire week, and then suddenly on Thursday it was like people were flying across streets,
right.
Roofs flying off buildings.
Yeah, as you were describing it, Sound of Music. Holding onto their umbrellas and Mary popping around.
Yeah, it was quite a bit of a storm.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't think I would like that.
I was in the car just before about an hour before the highest point of the storm, and my car was just almost blown over. So it was like moving all the way tilting to the right. That was not good.
Yeah, that's not good. It's not that I don't mind cold so much. I just hate when wind, puts its way into it, right?
Yeah.
But in the same respect, when it's summer and it's hot, you want the wind, right? You want some kind of breeze, right? You want some kind of, movement around. But when it's coupled with cold, this is not good. It's not good.
Speaking of heat, there's lots of apocalypse talk going on. Everything is an apocalypse these days. I kind of wanted to talk about that today.
Okay.
So, recently there was a thing about YouTube cutting ads for demonetizing basically every channel that has lower than 4,000 hours over the last year.
Yeah.
Or
of watch time and
of watch time.
and
1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, and you'd have to have over 4,000, I guess probably equal to or greater than 4,000 hours of watch time in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to have at least 1,000 subscribers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And everybody exploded.
Right.
Basically the same thing as last time this happened with the 10,000 subscribers, 10,000 views, lifetime views. So and kind of, and it's not specifically the thing that I want to talk about, but it's the outrage.
Right. It's
the uninformed, everything is going to burn outrage that happens every single time. Now, I did say on Twitter, douche move, YouTube, because I think it's a douche move. But I know a little bit more about how things work, and so I knew this was a douche move. But the reactions you get from this, there's really lots of outraged people on there. And then there's the other side as well. There's lots of people that have like giant, humongous channels and, oh, it's not that bad, blah, blah, blah. Right? More ad revenue for us, basically.
Well, so yes and no, right? So, okay, so when you get into the big, well-established, when they started out, they had nothing, and then, enter 5 years later, they have, they're well-established, right? So they're in the safe zone of the nuclear blast. So as a result of that kind of thing, those guys are already in the preferred channel, right? Or they're in the near preferred channels. So it's not so much more ad revenue for them. It's just it doesn't affect them. So they can look at it. And more importantly, they are on sort of the inside track. So they have a little more kind of insight about the mechanics of these things. In traditional, ad revenue mechanisms, there is a buying mechanism, and most YouTubers that are partners have no real clue, right? When they sign up, they had a magical button, and if they're not providing an alternative option for their ad monetization mechanism, they immediately, unknowingly, are sort of signing into YouTube's ad revenue mechanism, monetizer, right? And then this falls into a couple lines of guidelines. There's community guidelines for being and producing and putting content up on YouTube. Okay, period. There's those guidelines. Then there is the ad revenue policy guidelines. And this is really the center topic of what the apocalypse is happening there.
One of them.
One of them, yeah, because these things are very layered, right? So if you had your own ad buying something, then you could try to get to make that an option and give people alternatives. But no one is solving that kind of business problem, because the people that do it day to day do it in traditional TV, and they don't care about online. They care about traditional TV buying mechanisms, systems. So it's still that arrogant attitude. There's no money to be made in online stuff. But anyhow, so without getting into the nested details, this is, I don't know, probably months old at this point, but I just want to give one link, polymatic.link/EL. This is just a thing. Sam and Nico are guys who are kind of been well established. They've done lots of viral videos. Corridor Digital is their main channel. And they are, they get revenue. They don't exclusively survive on it, but they do. So this is just a video that's a little bit old, that they're doing more of a response to another YouTuber podcaster. But the end result is they've been around for a long time. And so this is just their accurate knowledge and again, just sort of conversation piece on how the ad revenue system works despite its policies. So the recent change was, as you were saying, YouTube is just sort of shut down the people that get the opportunity to have monetization options, right? Yeah. And so I can tell you on the OG...
Isn't as soon as you hit that mark that you get ads back, it's just you have to go through another approval process. So so they changed it. So if you have it right now and you get cut on the 20th of February,
yep,
you're gonna lose it, and
right.
then you have to go reapply for it again.
Yeah, but if I miraculously have all the things in place between then and now, and I had it before, then it would just not shut down. That's it. It will just turn off. So that's what they're doing. So I can tell you,
have to make a viral video before then.
I can remember way back in the very, very, very early days of the early years of YouTube when they had any kind of opinion about it. The best that you could have was the director account. And this didn't have any restrictions on how large of a thing you could upload. And I had a director account. I applied for it, and I had some stuff, and I was doing some things on my personal one. I wasn't doing anything amazing. I was just sort of dicking around, and so I got some extra features out of it, and that was wonderful, and I never utilized them. And then enter in years later, then they started opening it up to think you had some additional options that you either got invited to. It was like invite only over an X period of months, where you had to have had like more than inside of a year or more that you had 10,000 views, right? And then their view system was like you had to watch your video had to be a minute or higher or something, and had people had to consistently watch a minute of it without like skipping around kind of thing. It isn't this like how is a view counted today? 30 seconds, right? That's typically. So if you want to support somebody but you don't want to watch a video, just let it run for 30 seconds. You can like it, whatever, and skip on. That's how the view mechanisms work today. So that was the first level. And then the second level iterated into, they would make you an offer if you weren't about whatever weird policies that didn't exercise it in or out of their community guidelines. And then they turned it on for everybody. Everyone could turn on the monetization, and then people could look at your channel on YouTube side and say, yeah, okay, you're a safe bet, and turn it on. And then you would have extra features like the annotations and cards and all that kind of crap. So long tangent of this is that like the OG bit, right? So we have a bunch of still video, basically videos of our audio with our audio, which is a still static image of the OG podcast, whatever the 4. And so in terms of, and I checked recently, in terms of 12 months on average, we're well over the 4,000 hours in a year. No problem. We hit that time, no problem. We just don't have a subscriber count, right? We have low views, but people are staying with our content, right? They're not like skipping away. And even when I did slightly longer form content, none of it was great, but it was doing some video stuff. I had like an 80% of a sustain rate, right, on all the content. So we have like whoever's committed to watching us or listening to us, they're there. But there's not enough of them because we don't promote people to listen to our podcast on YouTube.
Subscribe now.
Subscribe to our YouTube and download our podcast. And
if you're currently listening to this on YouTube,
yeah,
press that subscriber bell. Subscribe button and the bell.
And the bell. Notification.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah. So
be part of the notification squad, I think is some people say.
Whatever. I mean, so I don't drive content to YouTube because I'm not doing real things there. That are of any kind of extreme importance. If I was producing video content, of course, I would ask people to be in that destination because that's the point of seeing the faces and doing the things and making video, right? The newer cheat is people are live streaming, and then once they live stream, they dump their live stream, which is long format content, but then they want to watch people watching them talk. It's not as interesting as you realize. So that's sort of the new cheat. People are like, everyone's into live vlogging. Well, you're not really. I'm putting a podcast on YouTube where you can watch me talk into a mic and see half my face covered.
Yep.
I mean, that's what people are doing. And they're trying to jump cut it a little bit. and make a thing out of it, and that's fine. But when I'm at work, I need my eyes elsewhere, and it's not on the YouTube screen.
The whole thing where this totally fell apart, of course, was people were really upset about everything.
Yeah,
and they didn't read what actually was happening, why they were doing this.
Yeah.
I'm not pro this move, by the way, because I'm one of the people that will get cut. But I think it might eventually be a good move on their part. I think they shouldn't have done the open the gates in the first place.
Right, but then none of us would have had any op. Now, I mean, with that said, monetization has never been high for me for anything. I have. It's not that it's dead. I have a personal channel that every couple of years I'll make a random vlog thing, and I'll literally just from my phone or whatever upload it, and that's the end of the story. And there's really nothing to see. It's just, but somewhere in there I have X number of hundreds or 100. I think 100. I'd have to actually look. I'm curious now on my personal channel, and it's been around and it has lots of views because a couple things have been around and people like to watch that one video. I made some random videos about podcast stuff, and I put it out on the Reddit channel because there was lots of questions and no real good answers, and everyone was sort of doing what you're kind of responding to in the apocalypse comment, which is everyone is spewing out their really just sort of not a well-educated, well-knowledge,
their own opinion, and
they're biased,
trying to
biased or echoing a biased thing from somebody they follow who's got a following, who has built a whole life and revenue stream of making money on YouTube or podcasting by being biased, right? And there's sort of echo chambers for these things, and so no real accuracy comes out. So, when you're somebody, especially like a professional of some sort, who does the homework and understands how these things work, or at the very least have some good idea, what people are shouting is full of crap. So, my personal subscriber count is 179. But again, the count's been around so long, like just today there's 374 watch minutes, right? 135 views. Like, it's old content. There's nothing on there. And so me losing my monetization, well, joke's on them. I never turned it on. I think I turned it on and said, well, I'm getting a fraction of a cent. Maybe in 6 years I'll hit $100, And I think I've done that in one of the channels, but I've never cashed it in. I've never given the tax info where to send the $100, right? But to the point, in this case, I know somebody who took a random video of his kittens at the time, where they opened up a door in his apartment. He knew that they were doing it, so he hit a camera and he turned it on, and then he went to work, and he came back and he saw this video and he just put it up online. And then every little viral cat video site licensed it from him. And he made a little bit of me, like $50, I think, from YouTube. And then he made more money by letting it be licensed in the Netherlands or something in funny cat video TV show. So he's made a little bit of money from it, but it's only because of like one or two exclusive things. Him as a person who creates content every once in a while is not making any general money from the system. So the system never served
to work. I should put my hamsters to work.
But the system never really worked for people that weren't trying to cultivate attention there, where they were trying to game a system or actually knew what a CPM was and had some analysis and could level it. Those who have made money from these kind of environments have done it externally. They use it as a leveraging tool, right? I have X number of watch minutes on a daily basis and a monthly basis, and here's my count, here's my follower count, and then I'm an influencer, right? And then they might cobble together with affiliates. And affiliates are just more perception than actuality. Unless you have 250,000 whatever on your podcast or your video thing, you don't even get a rapport built with an actual company that's going to give you $10,000 or $20,000 for one sponsorship, right? You have to be a DeFranco or somebody who signed themselves up to a multi-channel network who's put you in their preferred channels, right?
But
and on your own,
there's other ways to get money out of if you're doing stuff on YouTube, right? So there's affiliate links. You just mentioned them.
Yeah.
There's sponsorship deals that you can do, but only if you get them like a little bit bigger. And you know, spreading out the sources of revenue is probably a good idea.
But those things that we just talked about a moment ago are external to the monetization options inside of a platform system, right? They're completely external. So what do? You're Philip DeFranco. You turn off the ad revenue, and then you get a sponsorship, right? Or you keep both on, right? One doesn't violate the other, then you're in good shape. Or you turn off, and then he's built externally rapport with affiliates and whatever. And then eventually over time, because he's well established and well known, he gets added to, just like all these tech reviewers do, gets onto lists or figured out how to submit themselves to lists or network themselves into a contact that puts them on a special list. And then things show up at their door, right? Free Razer laptop. Oh, looks like they want me to talk about it on my show of 6 million views a month. You know,
they're going to have to declare that these days.
Sure. Right. But to the point is that you see all our tech reviewers get these great, fantastic things. Let's talk about the 1.5 Plus T that hasn't even been out yet. Well, how did that happen? Well, because those individuals are well established. Those companies found them because there's only, they look for the top whatever numbers and they sort it by, and then they say, okay, let's figure out how to contact this person or this group.
Well, you've seen that in the current with the 3D printer people on YouTube as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes companies even just send people a printer without being asked, right? And
yeah,
that's disgusting.
That's like the unbox therapy problem, right?
Yeah, or Casey Neistat, he gets lots of stuff sent to him for some reason.
Stuff. Yeah, and I can tell you very early on with OG, we had a little bit of a community, but our numbers were not great. We were, in those very first early days, maybe at best, we had 1,000 downloads a week for a show. And they weren't extreme or high, but they weren't bad, right? First couple shows, you're like 300 downloads in the month. Okay, fantastic. Oh, 1,000 downloads in the month for a show. Okay, fantastic. But we had cultivated a relationship with the people that were listening, and it was a lot smaller pool of people. Yeah. And so people would say, hey, what's your address? I want to send you something, right? And so that was neat. That was cool. And we cultivated a relationship a little bit unintentionally. And then people, graduate high school. They graduate college. And they move on about their life, and they stop listening to podcasts. And those people that were community contributors kind of phase away because life sucks them out the door. And so
or they stop watching anime.
Right. And so, or that too, right? Everyone has their, the thing. And it's not like you lost your appreciation, you lost your community, but you're not getting cookies from all over the world being baked for you, or hey, try our funky candy in Argentina, and you lose that kind of thing. And we used to have that, and I'd never had an ego about it, but I liked the fact that we had an actual community. It's why I always comment the side thought in my head is whoever's listening to us, I probably have never visited your part of the world, but yet if you put your headphone out or listen to open speaker, my voice is replicating somewhere, as teleported somewhere in the other part of the world. So anyhow, the facets of all that stuff and the connection and rapport is fantastic. But as we're way up in the high scale, we're getting into that percentage margin thing where the interaction's really low, but the numbers are still there. So the point that I was getting at is I'd never put a P.O. box thing because I don't see any indicator that people are going to send me some magical shit, right? And they're like, well, we thought if you would, review this laptop on your anime podcast, right? That, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
what's
totally right target audience, right?
Right, yeah. But again, every once in a while on a blue moon, you get a weird little thing like that, where they're targeting me to help, talk about a thing, right? So it's just, it makes no sense sometimes. And for us, even though there's a little bit of an establishment, not on YouTube, but like, just podcast land, it makes no sense for us it seems desperate when you put a P.O. box up for people to loosely contact you anonymously because they can't bother to send you an email with all the accessibility options that they have available to them. They can't formally do that, right? So, and nowadays your competition is scale, right? They don't really care about what you guys talk about. They care about the air quotes influencer badge, right?
Yeah.
If you call yourself an influencer and you got the numbers to leverage it, eventually people will believe you, and then they will quantify you as an influencer, and then you get to make a stupid 30-second Instagram video post about a product, and they give you $10,000 for that thing. So, yeah, I mean, well, that's the cheap version of when they give Kim Kardashian $6.5 million to do the same thing over some cosmetic crap. Or look at what I'm wearing today. You think she really cares about it? She might like it. She might absolutely like it. But you don't realize that someone's paying her to go out of her way to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she would take duck faces, pictures of herself. And
or
her
not.
booty.
Well, she's still hawking her own brand, right? Because she's
right.
She's gonna, of course, do that because she needs to stay an influencer.
Right. And then all the TV shows and stuff like that have reinforced a falsehood about her, but she's been able to just cash in on it, and then now her whole family. Yeah, her whole family doing all the same thing, cultivating the attention.
Speaking
to
about
their
families, so lots of people have been complaining about that. The whole YouTube apocalypse thing, part 3, from what I understand, is that this was all instigated because of Logan Paul. Because Logan Paul was being a bit of a douche, and filmed somebody who was dead.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a, it all came together at the same moment, but apparently it's not related. But the thing
right.
that people, the outrage about everything. I understand the outrage about what he did.
Sure,
right?
They're making parallels that actually don't match. Companies that have to do and they have to make one choice that influences. It's a break fix thing. It's some programming, right? You have everything as a dependency on something, and you have to make a change because you need to go forward differently, and it breaks all your dependencies, right? So people are making a connection of that being interconnected. They're not.
Yeah.
He violated
the whole problem here is the whole outrage about everything. I mean, Logan Paul. Okay, he did something stupid, but
he violated community guidelines.
Punish him for something.
Yeah.
And then but the whole going after everybody who, it's. People should be a little bit more informed about what they're talking about, and not just follow somebody who with a big mouth, who next week is going to be the target of that same outrage by somebody else.
Yeah, I was. Did you listen to the latest Reply All where they were doing the yes, no?
Oh yeah,
they were talking about PewDiePie. So this is like a very good example of this very exact problem. PewDiePie is just making but again. If no one was listening to him, it would have not made any difference. But it made a difference, and again, people are like, "Hey, I like everything PewDiePie says. Let me echo chamber that," and then totally distorts the whole thing. And becomes a thing where everyone thinks they know something without actually ever talking to anybody who knows something.
Yeah.
Or reading a website who knows something.
Well, the same thing happens in that's something I'd like to avoid, but in politics as well. Where somebody tripped over a kitten because he didn't see the kitten, and suddenly he's a kitten killer, and
John, I'm offended by that. That's fake kitten news. I mean, whatever.
This irks me so much.
I know somebody who was a little bit older, and he was just all frantic about these politics. And I just looked at him, insert his name, right? Because I know the guy. I don't want to say his name out loud. It's not important here. And let's call him John. And I said, John, you got to do your own homework. You can't just listen to all the pundits who are air quotes pundits and tell you a thing. Like, you got to stop listening to these radio people or these people who are on TV. It is their job to make you watch and make you pissed off. It's their job. Yep. So today they're saying a thing that is actually echoing probably a realistic thing that's happening. But next year, when that politician is out and someone else is new, they're gonna completely flip. And because the opposite of it is the thing to now complain about.
Well, and they're promoting everybody has an agenda with that kind of stuff. They have
to fill content. It's the thing with sports, right?
Well, you see the same thing with, like, if there's another one of those attacks, right? So whenever there's an attack, you see any news outlet, they just have 24/7 coverage of sirens and flashing lights from police cars, and that's all they show. There's some exceptions. Of course, there's some exceptions because with the Paris attacks, they had like the whole chase where people were chasing them through the country and stuff. But then again, how important is that to me to be concerned about? If there's actually a meteor coming down right now, and then I want to know about it. But if there's somebody, right?
Mm-hmm. I think
and the whole focus on keep repeating the thing that it's there's terrorists and terrorists and terrorists and terrorists. You're just being manipulated into feeling unsafe, right?
Yeah, it is exactly that. It's a consolidation of filling time. Look, if news and
selling
let's put air quotes around that. If news was all good all the time. You get a comfort. You get a false comfort.
I understand.
There's a better term for that. But
right
to
now
that point,
it's all negative.
Right. It's all negative because that's what gets people out of their seats, and then sort of fear mongers
watching.
Mm-hmm. Well,
keeps people in their seats watching.
Gets them out of their seats to go get another bag of something to sit back down in their seat and stay in their seat. Right. It just cultivates this general thing, but it's the thing that gets them up to react. In this case, they don't have to get out of their seat to go into the kitchen to get to the phone. What they do instead is they pick up their physical little tiny phone with a flat screen on it, and then they start, going to the internet. So, but you have to understand that these places that are providing you the communication channel are also in the business of making sure that they're owning your attention. And it's a whole attention game, and that's the same thing that goes along with this sort of influencer thing. It's, how do you make money from Instagram? Well, I will tell you, the way you make money is fairly simple if you can get all the eyes on your assets and paying attention to you. And then from you. Well, I didn't mean specifically assets. I mean, this isn't uniquely just to ladies, right? This could also pivot into, whatever gets girls to look at guys, right? Or whatever, or gets
sock puppets,
people who love animals to look at puppies or cats, right? Whatever the asset is, it's not always the first three letters, right, involved, but as sad as it is, that there's more truth into that than there should be. Regardless, it's all about this sort of how do you own the attention game, right? And there are little pockets where you can make money by owning the attention, right? That's what Facebook does. That's why they want you to stay inside their box. They don't want you to go out of the box. Google YouTube doesn't really, they don't do that to you because somehow people can't bother to use the right kind of search mechanism. Instead, they go, I wonder how do I cook a potato? Well, they might benefit from reading some words, but they'd rather watch a YouTube video of how to bake a potato than they would read a recipe. How do you bake a good potato, right? So instead of them going to Google to do the search, they go to YouTube to start their search, right? And so they have a problem that's not really a good, person's making a bad decision in this context, but they already have all the attention there. So they just have to deal with that problem instead of dealing with the problem of getting people to stay there, right?
Yeah.
So them encouraging, and as you always reinforce about artists putting their music up there, well, now they're at this point where people literally just go to YouTube, find their favorite artist, and they either get to hear the stuff or they also get to see a music video, right? And they'll just happily leave their phone up and open, run on YouTube, or if they're YouTube Red, leave it run in the background and listen to it. It's like a music player instead of
like radio.
Right. Yeah, they treat it like that. And that's exactly what is happening to when people go out to the OG YouTube channel, that they're just listening, or you're just listening to the thing. And it's got a commentary thing. You can comment on it, right? That whole thing. So, it's all about the intention game. That's really what the narrative is here. And then, the extrinsic, I can't even talk today. The extra stuff that you could do to monetize off of it, right?
Yeah.
And so I hear what you're saying. Everyone is being very fragile about everything, and they're echoing things without doing a little research first, right? And so, with that said, those are the people that I respect more, and I choose as in my little bubble of entertainment or info feeders. Right?
The people that go and be upset about without doing any research?
Yeah, I listen to only the people that have gone out of their way to do some research, and that's pretty evident, especially if they hit a subject that you know something about and you know what they're saying is fairly accurate. And so for me, I've cultivated that little tiny bubble for me. And those are the people that I typically follow because they're doing some work for me. I don't have to go research, stuff during my day. I can go trust that they did some diligence first. So, I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying. There are too many people who are being outraged, but I think it's a social club. I want to join the outrage so I can make friends, right? As sad as that is, there is some thought like that happening in people's heads, and so I don't know if
that those friends is that they're going to turn on you the second they can.
Right. Sure.
There make more outrage.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so your news channels, your sports channels, and stuff like that. This is never more evident. But it's always been this way. So when you trust a radio station to give you accurate news, they're not giving you accurate news. They have to cultivate a reason to hold your attention. So they do what's popular, and then if they can find an angle on how to extort more attention out of you, they'll do it by sort of rabble-rousing, right? And I think of an example of the Eagles, Philadelphia. That's the NFL team here. Between both conferences in terms of American football, they're doing really well, and they have one more playoff game that is happening tomorrow. And if you listen to sports radio, between the 2 weeks between the games and stuff like that, they're just talking about theories, and everybody's a sports expert on statistics and whatever. And I think if they make this play and they make this game and and all the stupid things, and you don't realize, but you listen to a 30-minute thing when you're riding home listening to sports radio, but they're going on for 6 hours a day times 5, right? And they have to cultivate this, they have to make everybody upset or talk about why is everyone upset kind of thing, right? They have to have a conversation about it because that's just how they can insert their ads and have a job. It's sad as it is, but there's no constructive conversation. There's just conversation about conversation, just like us.
So I've been checking out of everything. I've been checking out of Twitter. I've been checking out of I don't actually visit Facebook that often, but I've been checking out of the news. I've been not following things, although I have been following the things about the one person that I do watch on YouTube. That's not YouTubers I follow. Is MSNBC, the Rachel Maddow thing. She has some good research things, so she goes into the depths of like things that got released and things. That's pretty funny. And I don't mean funny as in it's more tragic than funny, but there's more depth into it and connections and stuff, and I like that kind of stuff. That's because I also like stuff like was that movie about with the Nixon investigation.
Was it called Nixon?
No,
was it a documentary or was it a feature?
It was a movie with what's his face?
Scorsese?
No, it's about the investigation into the Nixon the scandal with Watergate.
Okay.
Was it with can't remember his name. Anyway, or like the one with the Hulk guy.
Right. You like more
investigative journalism
kind of things, right? Which is why so for example, anything at least in America, when you listen to NPR, some of it is a journalistic thing to explore a topic. Some of it is to deep dive in a news fashion into a topic. That's more like your Vice kind of thing, but they go deep. They don't. They're literally almost boundless when you see any content from Vice. But that's their point. Their whole mission was this is where people aren't really giving you real insight. So if we're going to research the topic, let's just talk about all of it, right? So that's sort of unfeathered, unbounded most of the time. And if it goes dark, it goes dark. That's what it is.
Well, the same thing with that show S-Town and was the crime show where there was this guy that was in prison and they went. Reply All did something about similar.
I didn't listen to it, but I know you're talking about. It's not Heavyweight. Is it Heavyweight? No. There's an actual show about this kind of thing.
It's not a Gimlet show, but I think it was an NPR thing.
Oh, okay, but anyhow, so you're talking about Serial?
Serial, yeah.
Okay, so I never listened to Serial, but that's them trying to emulate something like Vice. Yeah. And that's fine. It's not I'm not harking on that as a bad thing. I think there's some good things that can come out of that. But then there's also the safe area things, right? And NPR would do This American Life where they explore a topic, right? And then that cultivated into let's pivot a version of this about money. Let's pivot a version about this about food, right? And that's what NPR does. They have people who kind of dive into a topic, they research it a little bit, they provide you information without bias, right? Then you get the scientific edge or the economist perspective. Well, is this really true? Freakonomics, right? And I love those guys, but I'm way behind on their podcast. Radiolab, they take a scientific topic and they sort of take a variation of it, but they pivot it in their own unique way that makes them unique. Yeah. It's not a carbon copy. And then you get Gimlet, and these are guys who came out of producing these things, and they decided, well, there's lots of other topics that we could focus on as a general topic. And Reply All is not just about the internet. It's about the internet and all of its corresponding tendrils that influence things that go on in the world, and they talk about it or they explore it a little bit deep, right? They go a little farther.
When I listen to something like that they produce, they go at it in more of and then they're not, saints or anything, but
right.
They go more at it like where they more nuanced, more
right. They explore conversation.
Yeah, and
from a journal.
It's not an outrage type situation.
Right. It's a journalist thing that is out of the context of this is how we have to make money to piss everybody off because it's gonna be a hit. They're not looking to make a hit. They're looking to make something better, and that's why I really do respect of what Gimlet is doing. One of my favorite podcasts is The Pitch, right? Because they're exploring the conversation of how the startups. You get to hear the conversation of people in that room with VCs, and VCs are being very transparent. This is my point of view. This is the things I know about. This is things I know really well about. I've made money off this. I'm interested in helping you. I'm not interested in helping you, and here's why. Transparency. But you don't get that. You don't get that out of your 5 o'clock news, right? You don't get that from your Twitter. I put air quotes around this intentionally. Pundit. People who are looking to engage at an influencer level and make money off this to be considered the expert, even if they know they're a fraud. Eventually, after 5 years, they become less of a fraud and they become well educated on the subject, and that's as people failing upwards. But being that point is that that's what's happening. I can tell you, there's plenty of devs who put out blogs to have a commentary every week or every month on a thing so that they can use it as resume in sort of, the MSG to the resume. And then when you actually meet that person and you talk to them, I go, well, what's your opinion, or how do you handle this, or how do you handle that, and you handle this, and you realize that it's mostly facade. It's just well crafted, calculated facade. And sometimes they really don't know. And those people you get to recognize who really do know their stuff, especially if you know your stuff, you respect them and you follow them. And they've earned the right to be followed. So there is more facade than not. Yeah. I didn't mean to consolidate all the way down there and do it great. But, I mean, this has been going on for a long time, and it's never more evident with a long tail of the internet, right?
Well, and it's been getting worse, right?
Yeah.
So it's been getting much, much worse in the last few years.
And
especially last year with, the year before that, with the election cycle in the U.S., where everything new was an outrage thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's been continuing nonstop since then. And it seems like it's gotten worse. And I don't remember it being this bad before.
I think it's always been bad. I think the only difference is that we have an audit log of it, and we call that the internet.
Yeah, but before that, it wasn't that.
No, I think it's always been there. I think what's happening is we as individuals and the social community mechanisms that are owning our attention are becoming more over, in the course of 10 years have become established components, which is we all go to one of like 6 places all the time. And we are now building our own audit log, impression log of what's been going on, and we build and, sort of interconnect. And so some bubbles collide and some don't, but eventually what happens is you have way more data out there that's available to search. And so if you roll back 12 years ago, we didn't have these mechanisms. But let's say we go back in time and all this stuff was invented in the 80s. Then we would have had that conversation in the 90s. You know what I mean? It's just because we have data. We have data that we can look back on. History is not literally being written. History is being logged. That's the difference.
Maybe. And then it's still all opinions.
I mean, Someone might look back and go, "Oh, Alan was right. Oh, Alan was full of crap." Whatever.
Yeah, I was full of crap. Yeah.
Yeah, I am full of crap. But I mean, with that said, I only make one thought about like the pundit comment is I've been writing like this email every Friday for people, just topics to keep the devs sort of in motion about little geek topics. I don't mean like, hey, newest Overwatch thing. Like, I'm not sharing stuff like that. I'm sharing stuff that are relevant to sort of
Pornhub
job,
stats.
industry, and development, right? Kind of things, or technology. And that's not like talking about iPhone, Android kind of stuff. It's just like, hey, here's an IoT thing that is been going on. Blah, blah, blah. Here's some articles about knowing about it. And every once in a while they said, okay, I want to know more about this. And one of those guys was like, hey, you sent a thing about like artificial intelligence stuff like a while ago. I really like that topic. Could you make AI a thing? And I did. I wrote an email last week, and he hit a topic that I know something about, but I'm not an expert. So I gave him all the commentary bits. This is just the starting surface areas, and then I sent them to a bunch of very deep topic articles, right, where real knowledge is to be found, and then I followed up a little bit with another like half dozen articles and videos that further educate, right? But if I made a blog post like this, someone would consider me a pundit, and I'm not a pundit. I will be the first to tell you I know something about it because I follow it, and this has been around for a long time, and I've been interested in it, and I know something about it. And the person suggested a topic that I know something about, but I'm far from a pundit. Someone might look at me and go, well, Alan's an expert. No, I might be more expert on the topic than you are, but I am not an expert. And so this is the thing when people are determining if people that they listen to or follow are truly experts. I will be honest with you. If you have a 23-year-old who has not spent 15 years of his life researching and participating in and or cultivating the technology of AI, that 23-year-old might be well informed, but they are not an expert. And so you can listen to them, you can learn from them, but don't depend on them thinking that when they complain about adpocalypse in the AI world, right, that they truly know something about it. They might be very well informed. And but you gotta make your own determination. Like, do your own little, grease work. Don't just echo chamber out what other people say. Don't requote me just because it's convenient because you think I'm more expert about a subject than you are. Like, that's it. That's the kind of thing that drives me nuts. Go determine for yourself first.
Well, basically, my point at the start, people are just not doing their own research anymore.
Yeah.
It's just,
you literally could take what we started with and then like the first 2 minutes of our conversation and then just cut down right to that point.
No. Hey, do you want to talk about a little bit more fun stuff?
Yeah. All right. So I was catching up a little bit on podcasts. I do follow Nerdist. I often don't get around to listening to all of them, right? But just because I don't have enough personal time. But besides that point, there's a show that I like that's been on TV on and off for years called Futurama. It's a cartoon. Mm-hmm. And you've seen Futurama?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So it just happenstance. I've seen most of them. Surprisingly, I think there's only a few I haven't caught up with, and there might be one movie I haven't seen. But I'm getting off track here. The point of this is they did basically they did something called Radiorama on Nerdist Podcast. And that will point you over to their page so you can determine whether you want to listen on YouTube or actually download the podcast. And they basically created a new Futurama episode, and it's just an audio play, just a radio play.
Yeah.
And given the consideration, this is all a live read with sound and everything. It's pretty good. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I would happy to see this as something that's animated. So Polymatic.link/EF.
Okay. So I saw this video on Reddit and I was like, yeah, I got to share this. And Jana Breslin versus a raccoon. There's a raccoon trying to get on top of a paddleboard.
Yeah.
And poor raccoon.
Raccoons are sneaky. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Polymatic link /E9.
Yeah, I don't know who Jana Breslin was, but to me this looked like just some random video with a raccoon. So I didn't have any context built in there.
Gets hit by a paddle.
Yeah, I mean he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get up there and take your thing."
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was funny.
Yeah, that was Polymatic.link /E9.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a guy I follow. Don't watch all his videos, but I'm subscribed to them. He lives in Japan, and he kind of had a conversation about 21 strangest movie translations in Japanese, and so I thought it was insightful. It was kind of amusing. Yeah, you gotta just look at some of these. These are intentional mistranslations. Let me say that. Polymatic.link /EG.
Yeah, I was kind of confused about those titles, but was it Grandpa Carl's Floating House?
Yeah.
Why did you want to translate this?
I would just like how could you make a bad title out of that? Like I don't understand the mindset, but again, it's not my culture. I don't live there.
I wonder what they're going to do about Ready Player One.
I can't even imagine what I'd have to sit down and figure out what the pattern and make an algorithm out of it, then figure out what the formula is to be able to
we're going to see that soon enough, right?
Yeah. Ready Player Stop? I don't know. Ready Player Controller?
Well, basically,
controller magic.
What they do in those titles is mostly they kind of spoil the movie for you, right? So instead of sending out a trailer with all these scenes in it that are very important, or the most graphic scenes in the movie,
Snowflake Future. Sorry, I don't know how to ruin that.
How do you ruin Ready Player One?
Well, a snowflake, I was making the reference to everyone's being like a snowflake. It's being ultra sensitive to being ultra sensitive, and then turns out that's a good influencer approach. So they're ultra sensitive. I can't believe he handed me a tissue. Does he think I'm gonna chew? Everyone's being a snowflake, making up an attachment to something that's stupid. But anyhow, I don't know how you ruin Ready Player One in a Japanese title for a trailer.
Have you read the book?
I've not. So
you should. You should read the book before you watch the movie. I think you should. There's no going back as soon as you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
Same thing with The Martian. If you watched the movie first and then read the book, it's like, what?
Well, so I'm curious what they did with The Martian. Maybe they called him Space Farmer.
Space potato.
Space potato farmer.
Mark Watney's Mars farm. Mark Watney's potato farm.
Watney's treats. I don't know. Whatever. I mean, the point is, there's all kinds of ways you could mistranslate that. That's easy to do, I think. So.
So I saw this video on YouTube. The 21 strangest movie translations, by the way, is Polymatic link /EG. This video, next one is something that's really cool. It's like a credit card with one card with all the credit cards in them, which is actually pretty cool. So the chip is the one that actually does that. I don't know how to do it with if they actually use the strip or not. If there's a magnetic strip, if they still use that.
Yeah, the wallet card, I believe, does program the strip, and then what it also does is it has a
But how would you do that?
OLED screen or something on it, an e-ink screen attached, so that it does little things so that when you have to show it to the person at the mini market or whatever, they
but I wonder how they do the magnetic strip. Because the magnetic strip actually contains the data encoded on the magnetic strip. They can't just change the strip.
Yeah, I heard about wallet card for a while. This isn't anything new from CES. I don't know, maybe a month or two I knew about it before CES. But I thought they're able to do something with the magnetic strip. I don't really know. I have no idea.
So one card to rule them all, and in darkness bind them. Polymatic link /EA.
EA. That isn't a new thing. Wallet card's one of them, but there have been some other ones. Definitely been Kickstarted, been doing this kind of thing. They've been a little thicker than, as thin as a wallet card. But anyway, I mean, it's pretty neat. I can tell you here in the U.S., we're still rigid on our antiquated approach for payment systems. I know, like in Japan, and again, the weird pivot, everyone's got a phone card, and their telephone card pays their rent, kind of thing. It's like the equivalent of a PayPal card or whatever.
Well, I have a bank account here where I can just use my phone as a payment card if I want
to.
Right.
I use Android Pay, right? I mean, it's a transactor that sits in between that does all the things.
Well,
but I can't.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I can't swipe my phone through the thing, but if they have Android Pay or the Speed Pay or whatever it is, you can tap it. And
most of the payment devices here in shopping centers and grocery stores, they have it'll tap your card against it to pay. So
yeah. And I think that's a better approach. I think it's a newer approach. The wallet card is fine, and it has some actual technology, and so if you lose the card, you can resolve that problem pretty well. I mean, it's a good technology. Don't let it sound like I'm crapping on it. I'm not. So, and that was Polymatic.link/EA.
Yes.
So this is a guy who. I'll start with Polymatic.link/EH.
Did we share him before?
I don't know. I feel like I've seen this video before, but I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was worth sharing. The point is, he has spent a lot of time making an airplane model, a very good one, out of all just paper and
folders,
obviously
right?
some glue.
Folders. The outside.
Folders, minimal, more of a card stock than a actual paper you get out of your printer. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting and came up. Maybe it came up in the past. Maybe I've shared this. I don't know. Maybe you shared this. Who knows? But I thought it was interesting. Polymatic.link/EH.
Yeah, and so. You shared something. I saw something on Facebook. You shared about the art selfie thing, and I was looking into it and seeing what was actually
Google
going on.
Arts.
Yeah, and I looked at that and I was like, maybe I can get this Polymatic.link/EB for that. You can take a picture of yourself, and then it will find a painting that's close to what you look like. So it tries to anyway. It's not available in the Netherlands.
There's an app available from Google called Google Arts, and it's just so you can explore art, right? Like paintings and whatever, and be educated on the subject of things that, Google knows about this stuff. They have other little apps and stuff like this. But so in this case, if you got to go down a little bit, there is a thing that you can run, which is kind of highlighting I guess sort of a museum gallery tour of a certain set of paintings. And you can do a thing where it does a little artificial intelligence stuff, looks at does basically computer vision things, and matches up your face with art that's been made from actual people. And I thought it was pretty cool. And I was wondering what everyone was like posting some of these things. Like, what the hell's going on Twitter? And I'm like, oh, Google Arts. Oh, okay, I'll download this. And I couldn't find how do you turn that on. I was expecting it to be a feature in the app. It's not. It's a feature in a content area that then says, like Facebook does a little thing every once in a while where they're like, hey, do you want to share your memories pictures with your friend John? Or your year in review in 2018. It's like a content inside a content app thing. Yeah. It's kind of neat. It gave me some pretty good options, but the one that I shared out on Facebook was, I think, I look like that guy kind of. I even had the same angle when I took the picture. I just kind of took the picture. I didn't think twice about it. So,
Polymatic.link/EB for that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of neat. You should all try it. See if it matches you up. Yeah. So anyhow, so this is more for you, John, just as like.
Yeah, I saw this thing before, and it's like, it's so stupid.
It is so stupid. It is so expensive. It's $300, I think. And it makes pancakes like it's basically 3D printing with pancake batter.
Yeah, it's not 3D
and
printing.
I guess it makes okay.
Printing.
It makes okay pancakes. They're not horrible according to the review of this video. That was Polymatic.link/EI. I don't know. I just thought it was novel. Yeah, I don't know. Given the consideration you like most things 3D printing because it's a thing for you, I thought this was silly. But with that said, you can buy one for $300 instead of spending $3,000 for this. So, yeah, I don't know if you know how to cook. The time and timing has a lot to do with how great pancakes become. So.
Okay, so the next one is a pug that has a bit of a drug problem. Polymatic.link/EC, where he gives a pug a choice between $100 bill and a treat. And, well, you'll figure it out why he has a drug problem. Polymatic.link/EC for that.
Okay. And this one I had around for a while. I thought it was kind of neat. Some guy basically made a classic Star Trek door for his bedroom. And that's Polymatic.link/EJ. I don't know. It's kind of neat. Do I want one of those? No. I would want one that like opens for me and I don't have to hit some kind of system
as soon
that
as
pneumatically.
There's like a power failure and there's a fire in the house, he's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I guess so. Oh, well, no. Did you watch all the video?
Most of it.
Okay, yeah, so you need to watch all of it because he accounted for that. So, but I thought it was kind of cool in terms of like a maker thing. So.
Okay. So there's another video on Polymatic.link/ED. Talks about the Breath of the Wild World of Wonder. I've been playing lots of Zelda recently because I got a Switch and Zelda, and I've been really enjoying that, and I thought that this video kind of made a lot of sense for that. And so go check it out, Polymatic.link/ED.
Yeah, it looks like a really good game.
Oh, it's so good.
And again, the nerd in me wants to buy a Switch because I think it's a pretty neat piece of hardware. But then I would buy one game. This would be it, and this would be my new Minecraft.
Oh, it's much, much worse.
I know.
It's such a good game. I really love it. And I'm walking around just going, looking, exploring for things. It's so good.
This is your new Minecraft. And to that point, the whole thing is like, that video is like, 10 minutes long or something, but it does give you, if you don't have any insight at all, this is actually gives you a really good insight about like how well the game was done. So, yeah.
Okay, so we got some music, and, well, you start off.
Well, I know you had one first, right? Didn't you? You want me to start off? It's fine. So, I've been... I subscribed to Spotify recently. I don't know what recent means this year. Let's say that. And so I let it run off in the original origin of whatever the thread was where I got led to this individual or this artist, basically. Old Sea Brigade. One of the songs, Tidal Wave, was one of them that I heard. Polymatic.link/EE. I don't know. It's sort of it's good background music, and I don't mean this in a negative way. Probably really good calming music to fall asleep to. So I kind of liked it, and instead of going through some kind of extravagant system of I've bought it, reviewed the individual thoroughly, and then making a recommendation, I thought here's one that I found that came along in Spotify that I tagged off for somebody to explore,
Yeah.
maybe buy some of their albums, and check them out. And that's Old Sea Brigade. There is one individual led me along their artist radio path that led me to them. And I couldn't identify who that individual was because I didn't, bookmark them externally out of Spotify. So Spotify does not have a history system that's real easy for you to check. So if you don't tag off an artist or something and follow them, you kind of get lost in it. So,
have you tried out the Discover Weekly?
No, so I don't use any of their. I will listen to an artist and I will want to explore based on the thread line from them. I've not done any of their sort of trying to push crap on me, which is like what traditional marketing media does. And because those Discover things are canned, whether you think you like hip hop or not, they're going to give you this, whether you've rated those artists high or low, their algorithm, I put air quotes around it, is not customizing that for you. It's just sort of like they're doing exactly what everyone else is doing. Apple made money by you being engaged by their system, and then they were engaged by
I don't agree with
feature
that.
promoting.
Just go check out Discover Weekly. As soon as you listen to a little bit more, it will start filling it with things that you will actually like.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. I've been using it for years.
And so then it cultivates your own custom bubble, right?
No, it will put new stuff in there.
Okay. Yeah. So lately, what I've been doing is if I'm using Spotify, I'm just using it by tangent of I entered something in or combination of a thread line, right, related to by an artist. So that's how I've been sort of listening and discovering through that approach instead of it being force-fed to me.
Okay, whatever, man. So in the Discover Weekly, I discovered Laxcity.
Laxcity, okay.
Yeah. Catch Me, Polymatic.media/E8.
Okay.
It's actually pretty good. I like it. I don't like the other music in for this artist, but this one was good.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't check it out yet. So
me neither. It's like the music corner is the thing that I keep forgetting about every single time.
I know. Yeah. There's one. I went. Yeah, I mean it's basically a book, but it's there's somebody I follow who's also a musician, and she's sort of independent, and I've talked about her as like in Music Corner before, but she decided to start writing a book, and so she's been putting up on Wattpad, and so I've been reading it. It's not like a sci-fi thing or not, in general curiosity and support of that individual that I appreciate. Well, I've been reading her book, so maybe one day I'll share it. But I don't really ever have anything to contribute on Book Corner. It's not my thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Alan, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter if you really care. CHAESS.
You can find me on Twitter at Webdevy, WEBDEVVIE. Music in this episode was by Say Uns. You can find it at Polymatic.media/EK. For feedback, you can reach us at podcast@Polymatic.media. Our Twitter is @ThePolymatic. Website is Polymatic.media. And I hope you tune in next time.